2019 was an interesting year for truly wireless earbuds, with a lot of new companies taking a crack at the space, and the technology seems to have matured enough that it's not just the household names putting out competitive products. In fact, I've been quite surprised at the quality that you can get out of a decent pair of budget earbuds, if you know what you're looking for. But if you don't, it can seem quite daunting to sort through the specifications, so I wanted to make this video as an overview of what I look for in budget earbuds in early 2020 if I'm on a budget of about $60. I'll also provide a couple of recommendations at the end that will be linked down below if you're interested in picking them up. These are two that check off most of my criteria and that I usually recommend to friends and family. So let's get started. In early 2020, Bluetooth 5.0 is definitely the standard, and while you'll find it on most wireless earbuds, there are still a few kicking around that support the older version of Bluetooth, so it's just something that you want to be aware of so that you're not buying into old technology. Similarly, you'll find AAC and SBC codecs quite regularly, but unless you only use Apple products, I wouldn't buy a pair of earbuds without aptX anymore. This will affect the quality of the file transfer between your earbuds and the paired device, and while I wouldn't expect to find the highest quality aptX HD and LDAC codecs in the budget category, you should see mention of aptX and AAC at the bare minimum. In terms of water resistance, I would look for something with IPX5 or better. This should provide ample protection against splashes, and there are actually several IPX7 options available that offer full 1 meter waterproofing within the budget category. But the absolute minimum I would settle for is something that at least says that it is splash and dust resistant. One thing that we're starting to see more of in 2020 is the manufacturer's willingness to actually name the chipset that's included inside of your earbud. And I think that this is generally a good sign. You're likely to stumble across Qualcomm's 3020 chip or something similar because they support good power consumption, as well as Bluetooth 5.0, aptX playback, and Qualcomm's CVC technology. CVC, or clear voice capture, is a form of noise cancelling that applies when you use your earbuds as a headset to block out some of the background noise and focus more on your voice. So it won't impact your listening experience, but it helps others hear you more clearly when on calls. This has started to leach into the budget category, and I see it as a good indicator, though not guarantee, of a higher quality earbud overall. Another acronym that you deserve to find on a budget is TWS, or Truly Wireless Stereo. This technology allows both of your earbuds to connect to your device in parallel, providing a more stable connection. And provided that the manufacturer has enabled it, you should be able to use either earbud independently in mono mode or together in stereo mode, but it's always best to check the description for mention of independent use if that's something that is important to you. And on the topic of independent use, 5 to 6 hours per earbud on a single charge has become the standard for battery life. As long as you keep your earbuds charging in their case between sessions, it's unlikely you'll run into issues. But if you are a power user and really need longer times, there are some budget options that go beyond this. When it comes to the case, you shouldn't be hard-pressed to find something that provides 20 hours or more of bank charge. That's good enough to last me about a week or so with moderate use, but what I would look for in a case is a charge indicator as well as a USB Type-C port. Micro USB is still pretty common in the budget category, but Type-C is definitely accessible if cable management is a priority. The type and number of drivers in your earbuds is becoming a hot topic in 2020, particularly around the $100 price point, so I wouldn't expect to find too much variation in the budget category, but you should be able to get 13mm graphene drivers, or alternatively, Soundpeats actually has an option for dual dynamic drivers, and I quite like the sound of those. And when it comes to controls, you should be able to find either touch or button options quite easily. Personally, I don't mind button controls because they work well when I'm wearing a toque in the winter, but you may grow to dislike the pressure associated with pressing the bud into your ear each time you want to make a change. Either way, the ability to play pause, skip tracks, and summon a voice assistant from your connected device are the bare minimum that I would settle for in terms of controls. But onboard volume control is something that I definitely really appreciate when I find it, and it is something that you can find in the budget category. 3 things that I wouldn't expect to find on a budget of $60 are active noise cancelling, equalization tuning, and seamless multipoint connectivity. What you should look for, though, is multiple device support that allows the earbuds to remember more than one device at a time. This way, you need only disconnect from the first bud and join the second, as opposed to repairing each time you switch. Okay, so sound doesn't really have a cheat sheet that you can just look up in the specifications per se. Aside from reading the customer feedback with an air of skepticism, you really just need to try them on for yourself, which is why I always recommend buying from a source where you can return them. With this in mind, when I get new earbuds, the first thing I always do is listen for how harsh the sound floor is. This is the background static noise that you can hear when the buds are powered on, but before they time out or the music begins to play. A lot of this noise can really ruin the listening experience, and it's quite common on cheap earbuds, but there are budget options that manage this well. Another thing to consider is that the sound changes dramatically with earbuds depending on how good of a fit you can get with the silicone ear tips. So make sure you try out all the different sizes and don't just accept the default size. Okay, so as promised, here are the two earbuds that I've been recommending a lot recently, and very briefly why. Also, I picked both of these up on my own, so as always, this is my true and honest opinion. The Soundcore Life P2 by Anker is a quality pair of earbuds that sound quite nice to me. But what I really like is how well built they feel and that they're IPX7 waterproof. The only real compromises are that you don't get onboard volume control and the case can pick up scratches fairly easily, but they do offer 7 hours of battery life per earbud as well as quick charging. The other pair are the SoundPeats True Engine SE. These have dual dynamic drivers that make them sound very good and help to widen the soundstage a bit, which makes for a pleasant listening experience. The only real warning I would offer is that they're a little bulkier and they rely solely on the silicone tips to stay in your ears, so fit will be quite subjective and I wouldn't recommend them for exercising, though these ones do have onboard volume control. And that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please hit the like button, consider subscribing if you aren't already, and I'll see you next time.